Alright guys, we are back with another predictions and breakdown for the card that is taking place in Houston, Texas in the Toyota Center, with one part of the main event being with the twisted sex appeal and true American steel Sean Strickland taking on the absolute surging Anthony Fluffy Hernandez in the main event. And this card is looking very good. Our first fight night with an actual crowd. Unfortunately, we had to have the Apex last time, but this card is looking good from top to bottom. We have got a lot of good prospects just riddled throughout this card, so I'm very keen to break this one down. I'm going to be predicting and breaking down all of the fights on this card and also giving out my fight card awards. So let's kick it off with the first fight of Carli Judice versus Juliana Miller. Guys, I'm just going to make this pretty straightforward for you here. The odds completely make sense here. Minus 400 for Carli Judice. She is just a much better MMA fighter, especially a better striker than Juliana Miller. Like, I know Juliana Miller ultimately does have a little bit more experience overall through the UFC and that tenure there. Like, she won the Ultimate Fighter, but pretty much everyone she fought were cans. Like, she fought like Brogan Walker, not UFC caliber whatsoever. And aside from that, she fought Veronica Hardy. She got dominated in that fight. She got dominated in the fight after that. And it's really down to her not being able to take her head off the damn center line. And Carli Judice is a seriously good prospect, not only in the flyweight division, but in women's MMA in general. She is a very, very good striker, very high output. She's only lost to Ernesta Carrot-Skater and Gabriela Fernandez, who are both very good fighters, made both of those fights competitive, and since then, Carli Judice has just been finishing. I mean, she's literally got a 100% finish rate of her wins, which is insane for women's MMA, and that striking pedigree that she shows really just justifies that. I mean, she's got nice long combinations, she's got good lead hooks, she's got great head kicks, she mixes in kickboxing fantastically well, and Juliana Miller can't move that head off the damn fucking center line. And if she can't do that, Carli Judice is going to have an absolute field day if Miller especially can't get this to the ground. If she gets it to the ground, it can be somewhat competitive, but I don't see her being able to get Carli Judice to the ground and completely outworking her there. Carli Judice would have been training for that. And Carli is going to be getting a KO TKO finish here. It's going to come in round 2 or round 3. She's going to accumulate damage. Miller is just going to be really aggressive, just going to really try and stand in the pocket and just try and out-grit Carli. You can't out-grit Carli, especially when it comes to Miller's strike defense. She's going to get sparked out before she can overtake Carli Judice's cardio. And Carli against Carrot-Skater, if you haven't seen that fight on Dana White's Contender Series, granted Carli came up short, but there was like 200 to 300 odd strikes in that fight. They just went from 1st to 15th minute, just consistent just action the whole time. Carli Judice is not going to slow down. She is going to take Juliana Miller out, and it's going to be bad. I think she's going to take her out in the second round. There's going to be a lot of blood on Juliana Miller's face. She's going to get cut up, and I think she's going to get taken out around the end of round 2. And I'm giving Carli Judice a pretty clear performance of the night award here throughout the whole card. First fight on the card, I'm giving this award out already. I just think Carli Judice is that legit of a prospect, especially getting teed up against someone like Miller, whose strike defense is absolutely dog shit. So definitely tune in for this fight. Now, moving up the card, we got Yadier Del Valle versus Jordan Leavitt. Now, this is at featherweight, so Jordan Leavitt is moving down from lightweight, and I think that's honestly a good move for him. He didn't perform like terribly at lightweight. Like, he lost to guys like Paddy Pimblett and Chase Hooper, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I just do think Leavitt moving down to featherweight is just going to be more to his size, and also he's just going to be more stocky against his opposition at this weight. But I do think moving down to fight Yadier Del Valle in his debut for featherweight, it's just not a great option, because honestly, I think Yadier Del Valle is just a better version of Jordan Leavitt. He's just better everywhere, to be honest. Yadier Del Valle has shown absolutely no weaknesses in his game, and Jordan Leavitt, don't get me wrong, good submission artist. He does have sneaky power on his side. I wouldn't say he's the most technical with the striking, and he is a fairly strong dude as well. But Yadier Del Valle, this guy, as I said, there's no holes. He's got fantastic transitions from striking to wrestling to grappling. Grant, he hasn't fought like the best of the best opposition. You know, he fought Conor Matthews, absolutely disposed to him. Beat Isaac Dalgarian, which is obviously a sketchy fight because it looked to be completely skewed, and Isaac Dalgarian was in this full betting front that the FBI is looking over, and he got cut from the UFC. Whereas Isaac Dalgarian is a very good fighter, but Yadier Del Valle, genuinely, I think the guy was good enough to get the first round submission anyway, whether it was fake or not. And Yadier Del Valle is still in the UFC. He hasn't been cut, so he's not a part of that accusation, as so we can see. But he's undefeated for a reason. I mean, he's, as I said, shown no holes. He's got really good striking, good, just strong clinch base work as well. Good, powerful shots in the clinch, not real pot shots. He just really gets in tight and close with those uppercuts, drags him against the cage, throws him to the ground, hunts submissions if he wants to, or completely out transitions with his wrestling to then look for ground and pound. Like, he's just a very, very offensively dangerous fighter. Now, that being said, we haven't seen a lot of people being able to press him effectively. And I don't think Jordan Leavitt is seriously going to be the guy that's going to be able to do that to him, to be honest. Like, I don't think Leavitt is as strong as Yadier Del Valle when it comes to any clinch or wrestling-based exchanges. Leavitt, if he gets on top, somehow, I think submission-wise, he could find some success. But aside from that, I just think Yadier has better skills on the feet offensively, pressing the action as well. Leavitt's best chance is finding some crazy knockout shot or being able to hurt him, drop him down and submit him. But aside from that, I think Yadier can win from pretty much all angles in this matchup. And that's where I'm going to take Del Valle by KO TKO. I think he's going to be able to get Leavitt down. I think he's going to be able to out transition him. Leavitt's going to get stuck. And just like Chase Hooper was able to submit Leavitt, I think Yadier Del Valle is going to really just own that top control, and I think he's just going to get the TKO finish. Too much damage from that full mount position, and he's not going to allow Leavitt to transition. Yadier Del Valle, this guy is seriously a great prospect, and he's getting my Fighter to Watch award. He's a guy you seriously need to look out for. 29 years old, slowly creeping into his prime. He has got no holes offensively. We haven't seen anyone being able to lock him out defensively, so definitely look out for this guy, especially in the UFC with just his MMA pedigree overall. Very impressive, and I think he's going to get that KO TKO with that ground and pound, I think towards the end of round 2. Moving up the card, we got Nora Cornolle versus Joselyne Edwards at bantamweight in the women's division. Now, Nora Cornolle, I did like her coming into the UFC, and I still think she is pretty decent. Like, she's got a decent ground game, but obviously most of all, when it comes to her, it is her striking on the feet. She does have weight in her hand. She's 6-0 with KOs. So definitely can compete with pretty much anyone in the division when it comes to pure striking. Good French kickboxer. But when it comes to the overall ground game of her transitionally defensively, she's shit. She just is not ideal at all. I mean, Carol Rosa in her last fight controlled her for over 11 minutes of a 15-minute fight, and it's just clear that she doesn't have answers there. And Joselyne Edwards is someone that is seriously rounding out her game. She's made very, very smart decisions in improvements of her training camps, you know, going in with Valentina Shevchenko's camp, really rounding out that Muay Thai. She's got the power in her hands. We saw what she did against Priscilla Cachoeira, slept her like a fucking sack of shit. And she's also got the submission game there as well. And I honestly think with her moving into her prime and being on a 3-fight finish streak now, I think all that training and all these performances are going to pay off in a big way, and I think she's going to dominate this fight. I think she's got a pretty clear avenue to get a submission win here. Granted, Nora Cornolle has never been finished, but I think the submission is going to be coming in hot here for Joselyne Edwards. A great pick to take here in this one. Plain and simple for me. I think it's going to be a end of round 1 submission, rear naked choke finish. Next up, we got Phil Rowe versus Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani. Now, I apologize if I absolutely butchered that last name. I'm going to call him Jean-Paul. But this was a semi-short notice fight coming onto this card. And Jean-Paul does have a lot of hype around him. He had a lot of fan base coming into that Dana White's Contender Series fight he did have. And I mean, against Congdon in that fight, he just annihilated him. He looked fantastic against a taller guy. Congdon is a very, very big physical presence in the octagon. Absolutely floored him up close. Jean-Paul did take some shots in that fight. Like, he took a couple clean shots to the chin, And he's got a chin there to an extent, but against a guy like Phil Rowe, who really has that long body, he's got a lot of experience, a humongous reach advantage as well, 8.5 inches of reach. I think Jean Paul is a guy that is a fun prospect. I think he's a guy that's really going to bring it in a lot of his fights. I can see him kind of being in the UFC like one of those guys that's like, not like your Nate Diaz's, but I'd say like your Michael Johnsons and stuff, like the guys that are always ready to fight. They're always there. They always bring entertaining, just scraps. And I could see him being one of those guys. But the issue is for him is the experience in combination with the reach, and Phil Rowe, when it comes to his power, and I mean, how he looked against a shorter guy like Ange Lusa, who is really aggressive, really brings it, is really hard to take out. Phil Rowe just absolutely destroyed him in that third round of their fight. And that's the thing with Phil Rowe. I've said it again and again and again when I've done predictions and analysis for this guy. If he is not complacent, then he wins the fight. Like, Phil Rowe, that's his biggest issue. It's when he is complacent, he gets in his own head, he just starts to really just backtrack and get lackadaisical and just chills. And that's where he just loses the fight. The fight slips away. But when he is really active, he's getting aggressive, and he really picks those shots, he is damn dangerous. A very dangerous guy. And even though Jean Paul has got great timing on his shots, he's quick and explosive, I just can't deny Phil Rowe's experience with that reach and with that power as well. And that's where, honestly, unless Jean Paul is getting Phil Rowe to the ground and submitting him, or just completely outworking and outmuscling him against the cage, which I think is a tall order to ask for. I don't see it happening. I think Phil Rowe's going to get this one done. I think the physical advantages, the experience, the power that he's got, the things that he's shown in recent times with a little bit more urgency in his career, I think Phil Rowe can really bring it here. And I think he's going to shut down that hype train of Jean Paul in this fight. I think Phil Rowe, yeah, I think it's an underdog pick. It's definitely a decent one. And yeah, I think Phil Rowe, I think second or third round, I think he's going to get a nice 1-2 down the pipe, drop him, get the ground and pound finish here. Now moving up to Punahele Soriano versus Ramiz Brahimaj, which is a very, very short notice fight. Very surprised that this one came in. It literally just came in as I was making and studying for this video. And I've got to say, it's a matchup that really does make sense. Punahele Soriano, come down from middleweight. He looked pretty bad at middleweight, to be honest. Coming down is on a 3-fight win streak, pretty dominantly against some decent opposition. And Ramiz Brahimaj, the same thing. The guy's on a three-fight finish streak at welterweight, like just looking fantastic. And I mean, both of these guys have the clear momentum. Both of them are the same age, same height, basically same reach, but both have differing styles. I mean, Punahele Soriano is arguably naturally the better striker. I mean, Ramiz Brahimaj, though, has shown some pretty decent damn striking recently. And then, of course, on the other side, when it comes to actual grappling and BJJ, Ramiz Brahimaj absolutely clears Punahele Soriano, let's be clear here. But Punahele, moving down to welterweight, he does have that real stocky frame. He's got the strength. He's good with the wrestling. We've seen it, we especially saw it against Veretennikov. And when it comes to that, man, I think he's got the actual pure wrestling advantage for sure. But I will say, Ramiz Brahimaj has been making me money, man. Like, this guy, against Austin Vandervoort, like, he just completely cleared him out. He was a decent underdog in that fight. Don't know how. I mean, he made me money there. And I think Ramiz Brahimaj, he means business. Like, his striking is improved. He's got actual decent KO power. It's just about him timing those right shots. But he's just so used to utilizing that grappling-based game throughout his MMA career. But he does have it. He seriously does have it there. And Punahele, I'm not the biggest fan of this guy, in all honesty. Like, aside from some of his performances recently, yes, down to welterweight, he's looked good. But I just think there are identifiable holes there. Even when it comes to his wrestling, there are points where he can just set his head in the wrong position, and I can just see if anyone else is more adept in the game, other than like Veretennikov off his back, like a Ramiz Brahimaj, I can see them capitalizing on a submission, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen here. I think Punahele Soriano, genuinely, I think he could get the advantage in the first round. Like, more so bullying Brahimaj, just pushing him backwards, landing some decent shots, engaging in clinch-based exchanges. And then I think in the second round, I think that's where Punahele is just like, okay, I'm getting a bit more control now. I think I can do a bit more work here. I think I can wrestle him. I think I can get him to the ground. I think I can smother him and look for some ground and pound finishes. But I think that's just where he's just going to make an evident, clear mistake. And when it comes to short notice fights, that's more so evident and prone to happen. And I think that's where Ramiz Brahimaj, when it comes to his guillotines, when it comes to rear naked chokes, of anything of that sort, he is fucking vicious. And that's where Ramiz Brahimaj, I think he's going to get that sub. I think it's going to be off a takedown of Soriano. I think he's just going to lock up a guillotine. And that's going to be that in the second round, I do believe. It's a very hard fight to pick. Obviously, complete even odds. Both of them are on the same momentum right now. Both of them have advantages over the other. It's a dangerous one to put in the bet slip at this point in time. But I do believe in Brahimaj's submission base, just especially that contrast over Soriano's grappling. And that's the biggest clear difference here. And that's what I'm going to be taking to win the fight. Moving up the card, we got Alden Coria versus Luis Gurule. Now, this, honestly, is one of the most underrated fights on this card. And you might be asking why, because they're both pretty unknown overall in general. But these guys, when it comes to their striking and the clash that they're going to have, especially both of them with their high volume, there's just going to be a lot of nice combinations we're going to be seeing here. Both of them have durability. Both of them work at high volumes. And, man, whoever is winning this fight is going to have that significant strikes landed per minute shooting up, because it's just going to be a high volume, high action fight from start to finish. Now, in terms of who's going to win this, we need to dig deeper. And Alden Coria, this guy, very fast boxer. He's got like a wider stance, so he is susceptible to lead leg kicks, but he's actually good with his own leg kicks himself. But the best thing about him is how good he is feinting on the defense and especially setting up his shots. He's got really slick 1-2s. He's just a really clean volume-based fighter, and also got really good control time on the ground. He took Alessandro Costa down and just absolutely dominated him transitionally, and that's a guy that trains religiously with Diego Lopez. I mean, Alden Coria is a guy that's one of the most underrated, like under the radar prospects coming through. Like, I just think he is a very, very good, well-rounded MMA fighter. Like, he's got good scrambling capabilities, good transitions on the ground. He's got 4 submissions to his name, but everyone really focuses on the striking that he does have, and that pedigree, it's really pretty to watch. And I think that, especially in this fight, Luis Gurule, I mean, the guy has good strike defense, but the problem is with Gurule is he can get overwhelmed. And when he gets overwhelmed, when it comes to high volume combinations from the opposition, he really does struggle. It's like a taste of his own medicine. He can't deal with his own style that goes against him. And we saw that against Jesus Aguilar in his last fight. Like, he just wasn't able to deal with it, and especially with Osbourne. I mean, he was getting more so aggressive and loose because he was looking good in the first round, and then Ode just smothered and chinned him badly. So it's one of those where if Alden Coria can really get off the mark quick, I just think that Coria is just going to be able to mince him, to be honest. Like, Gurule does have a chin, though. He's got a chin. He's someone that does have that grit and a good strike defense ultimately. But Coria is different. And when it comes to the ground game, Coria has just shown a lot more as well. He's just a better overall MMA fighter, to be honest. And when it comes to high volume combinations, Coria can deal with that from Gurule to an extent, but Gurule cannot deal with it coming from Alden Coria. I don't see that happening. I think Coria is going to be able to outwork him pretty proficiently through the first round. There's going to be a fair bit of back and forth, but I think especially through rounds 2 and round 3, I think mixing in that takedown capability, I think Coria is just going to be able to run circles around him. And I think, which is tough, I think Luis Gurule, I think he's a decent fighter, but I think if he loses this, he's getting cut. And yeah, like, Correa's got the better accuracy as well, better strike accuracy. He's got similar volume, but he's just cleaner overall on the offense compared to the defense, and he's got the ground game advantage. Give me a 30-27 decision here, clean. Moving up the card, we got Osbourne versus Alibi Idiris. Now, Alibi Idiris is one of those guys, comes out of Kazakhstan. He was fighting on the Ultimate Fighter. He was pretty much mincing everyone on the Ultimate Fighter series, but then he really fell short against Joe Morales. And Joe is a guy that really surprised me. Like, he's someone that you're like, oh, like he fought in the UFC before, you know, he looked okay on Ultimate Fighter, and then he just comes out and destroys an undefeated Kazakhstani guy. Like, holy shit balls. Like, he absolutely minced him. Like, Alibi, I will say, granted, they do have a little bit of time between the Ultimate Fighter series and the finale itself, but Alibi just looked gassed. This guy looked like he had just fought too much. I think he overtrained, to be honest. I think he must have overtrained. He's a guy that you can just kind of tell he's one of those guys that has those personas where when they're in the fight, they're really passionate, they're super hyper aggressive, which he is, it's his style, but oftentimes, psychologically, you can kind of link that to just overtraining. Like, that they're just so keen to get in there, they're just absolutely going ham in training from the start of the camp to the finish, and I think he just overworked it. That's nothing against Joe Morales, honestly. I think Joe Morales definitely deserved to win that fight, and so he did. But looking at Alibi in this fight against Ode, he is the favorite by a semi-decent margin, and when it comes to him being in that Ultimate Fighter finale, you know, if we look at it and link it to being just completely exhausted and overtrained, and him being a lot more rested in this matchup now, we're going to think those problems are more so solved. And when it comes to him, he's got great Muay Thai, he's got very, very good, like, just knees, he's got sneaky head kicks, like, he's good offensively, and honestly, I think when it comes to being on the feet overall and with how aggressively offensive he is, he could knock Osbourne out in the first round. Definitely possible. We've seen that with Ode before. But I don't like how defensively susceptible he is. Even though he looked very good on the Ultimate Fighter series, he's still getting tagged. He gets over aggressive. He was getting told to calm down by Daniel Cormier multiple times because he was getting too hyper aggressive. And Ode Osbourne, he's a guy that is slept on, but you've got to look at him, and even though he's lost 4 of his last 5 fights, he's looked so impressive since he got submitted by Jafel Filho. Like, he arguably beat Ronaldo Rodriguez at the Sphere. He destroyed Luis Gurule, who we just previously talked about, and arguably beat Steve Erceg. He, like, knocked Steve Erceg down twice, and Erceg's a guy that almost won the fucking title. Like, Ode Osbourne is a guy that you cannot sleep on, and as long as he's not getting completely overwhelmed, like, I think he can definitely win this fight as a pretty clear, almost $2.50 underdog. I mean, he's knocked down a bunch of his opponents he's fought because he's got some of the best power in his hands. He's got that long leverage with his reach. You know, he's got a 5-inch reach advantage in this one. And even though Alibi's going to be refreshed, a thing I don't like is actually Alibi Idris's wrestling game. I don't think it's offensively sound as a lot of people think, and he hasn't shown a clear submission game either. And I think if Alibi can stay on the feet and just completely outwork Ode, he can win. But going for 3 rounds and how defensively susceptible Alibi is, and if Alibi can't get this fight to the ground, I think Ode Osbourne has a very good chance of winning this fight, especially just with the power that he has, the takedown defense that he will have been working on fight after fight after fight. Because the biggest thing we got to remember, the experience contrast is so damn evident here. Ode's got over twice the amount of fights that Alibi Idris has at a pro level. And I just think as an underdog, man, there's been split decision for Ode. You know, he almost beats bloody Steve Erceg. We're going to give this guy a break, and I think he's going to win this by a 29-28 decision. Super close fight, but I think that wrestling leaves a lot to be desired. Defensively, if Ode is pressing forward, he's going to land some fucking bombs on him, and I think that's where Alibi is going to be in some damn danger. I think Alibi can win, like, the first round based on control, but I think Ode just really starts picking him apart through the second and third round. But I think it could honestly is probably going to be another split decision sway. I think Alibi gets a lot more tired than Ode in that third round. And then Ode, I think he just starts picking him apart in that third round to where I think the judges just get swayed in his favor. And that's where I've got to give him honestly, I've got to give him my Upset of the Night award here at a $2.45. I don't think it's the worst one to take. You could give it to Phil Rowe as well, but I want to give O'Day a bloody win here. He needs a W, and if he does it against Alibi, it's a great win to have. Now, moving down the card, we got Chidi Njokuani versus Carlos Leal. Now, I gotta be honest with you guys here. Like, this is probably the hardest fight to pick on this card. This one, I was really going back and forth with, because these guys seriously are just like the same level of fighter. We've got Chidi on one side, who was fighting at middleweight, still has a great frame for middleweight, but has moved down and is fighting at welterweight, where he has a massive frame advantage, just ridiculous. And I think it's just a great decision for him, obviously, from that, but he's also gone on a 3-fight win streak, and he's beaten decent opposition, like Eliseo Zaleski dos Santos. He beat Jared Gooden as well, and yes, he did get submitted by, like, Jake Matthews in the first round in his last fight, but that's more so down to the point where his advantage was closed off immediately. If he stays on the feet with that frame that he has at welterweight, we know he's a damn problem. He's got the leverage, he's got the power there, and when he starts feeling himself, like, he's a problem. Like, he can knock people the fuck out. He's got 15 KOs to his name. But then Carlos Leal on the other side, I mean, yes, he's smaller, but the guy has got great technical striking, and aside from being finished by Muslim Salikov in his last fight, he's just looked great in his career overall. He's got 3 fights in the UFC where he destroyed Alex Morono and arguably beat Rinat Fakhretdinov, where he stuffed almost 20 of his fucking takedowns and also got a takedown of his own, which I think even when it comes to just like one singular takedown, you got to look at the pedigree of the opposition there. Carlos Leal being able to take Rinat Fakhretdinov down, he can take Chidi Njokuani down. And if he's able to do that, along with his Muay Thai base in tight, the problem with Chidi is if he gets really closed off, that's where he is susceptible to getting taken out. And we've seen that. We saw that with Mikel Olachejczak up at middleweight. And Carlos Leal, I genuinely think it came down to this conclusion. I think he's just that dangerous. And over 3 rounds, I think he can close that distance. I really think he can. And I think if he does, I do think he's going to take out Chidi Njokuani in the first round. I think it's going to be towards the end of the first round. While they're still kind of fresh, I think he's just going to run in, close the distance, cut off that range, that reach advantage, and just, yeah, I think he's just going to really beat down Chidi Njokuani against the cage. There's clinch work that could really come in handy from Chidi, but Leal does have the bombs in his hands, and I think that's where, yeah, it's hard to pick, really is. I would not put this in a bet slip because Chidi could easily just get a clinch knee to the body or to the head, knock him out, or just piece him apart at range. But I just think Carlos Leal closing off that distance as a better overall Muay Thai based fighter and does have that takedown offensive threat if he really wants it. I just think there's more options for him to win here, but I do think he's going to get it in the first round. Moving up the card, we got Michel Pereira versus Zach Reese. Let's go for some fucking carnage, boys. Someone's gonna die here. And when it comes to who is, I mean, it's just a flip of a coin, really. I mean, Michel Pereira has got the experience, for sure, way more than Zach Reese. But Zach Reese is the bigger guy. He's got more reach. He's got more reach when it comes to the legs. He's got more reach when it comes to the arms. So, and he's got that power there. We've seen it. And he also does have a submission-based threat. And Michel Pereira has looked like dog shit recently, which was not on my bingo card, that's for sure. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, who we'll get to in a moment, completely exposed Michel Pereira. Like, he's never looked the same since he got absolutely ragdolled, had his will just ripped from him in that fight. But regardless, got to thank the UFC for this matchmaking here. Almost 30 fucking finishes between the two of them. Even though Zach Reese has got the reach advantage, he's got, you know, the advantage in both the legs and the arms. I think Michel Pereira is just going to finish him. I just don't think Zach Reese is going to be able to deal with the unorthodox power of Michel Pereira. But the issue with Michel Pereira is obviously similar to what I said about Phil Rowe. It's his complacency. When Michel Pereira is on the front foot, when he is aggressive, when he is explosive, we have seen it time and time and time again. We've seen it against Mikel Olachejczak. We've seen it against Ihor Peteria. I mean, we saw it against Fluffy Hernandez in the first round where he hurt Fluffy. If Michel Pereira gets off the mark, in the first round, throws all caution to the wind, he can win this fight. And that's what I see happening here. He just needs to have that mentality switch to go back to his old roots. And granted, Zach Reese is a dangerous guy that could knock Michel Pereira out, but Michel needs to be that just absolute brain dead guy and just needs to go absolutely crazy. Just throw all of his caution, all safety to the wind and go for it. If he does not, I think Zach Reese could just pick him apart and eventually just KO him. I think he definitely could. One of them is getting done, but yeah, Michel Pereira, I think that he's the one that's going to get the finish here. I think since he moved up from welterweight, it's definitely better in this division for him. He's stockier. He does actually have more cardio, as much as we have to, try and believe that. He technically does compared to welterweight. And, he looked great against Andre Petroski. He went on a 3-fight win streak. And, being on an 8-fight win streak overall is absolutely no joke. But obviously falling off from then, it all comes down to that mentality. So if he can get through this, man, if he can break that mental wall, Zach Reese's head's going to be hitting the canvas pretty damn badly. And that's where either or, for Zach Reese or Michel Pereira, whoever's fucking winning this fight, is going to get my finish of the night award here, because it's going to be brutal either way. They're both explosive. They've both got a lot of power. Both have submission games as well. They're both just offensively so viable. But I've got to give it to the guy with the more experience on his side, and overall just has the more tools. He just needs to show it. Moving up the card, we have got Jacobe Smith versus Josiah Harrell. Now, this is the prospect fight of the night for sure. And actually, newsflash, I'm giving this my fight of the night award because, firstly, Sekyong Ko, unfortunately, did pull out with a rib injury, and I did have him beating Jacobe Smith. That guy is so fucking good. But this is what we have. We have Josiah Harrell coming in on quite short notice, and he's a fairly similar type of fighter to Sekyong Ko in terms of having decent offensive wrestling and transitions, but I think Josiah is actually just a better striker than Sekyong Ko overall. But coming in on short notice, I mean, it is dangerous. And I mean, if you guys don't know a lot about Josiah Harrell, he's a great LFA prospect, but he has almost been out of proper competitive competition for like 3 years. Granted, he has gone 4-0 through another regional scene promotion, but he was supposed to actually fight Jack Della Maddalena at UFC 290, but he had to pull out because he had a diagnosis with a rare brain disease. A rare brain disease which basically states that it can cause strokes due to restricted blood flow to the brain when you overexert your body physically. So literally being in the sport of MMA was probably the fucking worst thing he could be doing. So he obviously had to have that surgery, had to have a lot of time off. But he's gone through like 2024 through to 2025. He's gone on this other regional scene promotion and he's gone 4-0. He's looked very good. And overall, he's actually, I don't know how I've made the mistake here, but he's actually technically not 7-0. It's listed through Tapology as an ESPN actually as 7-0, as 4-3, but he's actually 11-0 with an almost 100% finish rate. He's got one decision to his name, and coming back from surgery in that promotion, holy balls, Combat League, I think it's called, he looked great. I mean, he's just great offensively. He's got good lunging shots. He uses very nice timing on his striking. He has that wide kind of karate base as well, and he really loads up on his kicks, whether it's to the body, to the legs, to the head. Like, he mixes up his combinations very well. But I do have to say, he does keep his head on the center line, and when he gets flustered with just flurries of strikes, he doesn't move his head too much, and he does get tagged. But that being said, he does have a chin at the same time. But the thing I do like is when the opponent isn't super active with that high volume, he does really angle away from his opponents effectively and uses counter striking. But that's where Jacobe Smith, hopefully for him, not being biased, but hopefully for him, that he picks up on that, because he's gonna be, he needs to be someone that's needs to be really aggressive. He needs to be really aggressive against Josiah Harrell to take him out, because Josiah can deal with the low output striking, with the 1 to the 2 to the 3 strike combinations. But when it gets to more than that and gets to flurries, Josiah then gets tagged. And I think Jacobe, I mean, he's more so of a actual wrestler. You know, he's got that big, structured, strong wrestling build, but he does have KO power in his hands, and he's definitely one of the hottest prospects at 170 pounds. He's, as I said, got that wrestling, got good KO power to his name, 8-0. Just dangerous offensively overall, to be honest. And with Harrell on short notice, it's very, very dangerous, and it should be more so clear for Jacobe. But Harrell, if you haven't seen him, is absolutely no joke on that regional scene. But I also have to say, when it comes to Jacobe, I didn't like his performance against Nico Price last time out. Like, even though he got the submission in round 2, his stamina was fucking plummeting badly. And if that happened against Harrell would probably knock Jacobe Smith out if his cardio is like that. But I do have to say, on such short notice against semi-similar opposition in terms of technical capabilities when it comes to wrestling. Obviously, Sekyonko is a much better wrestler than Harrell, but I've got to say, Jacobe Smith will win here, but I think it will be by a decision. Like, Josiah Harrell does have a chin on him. I don't think Jacobe is really going to want to just flurry with a huge output, because if his stamina drops too fast, Josiah Harrell will capitalize 100%. And that's where I think Jacobe is going to use his strength. He's going to use that stamina against Josiah Harrell being on short notice. I think he's going to use a lot more clinch-based exchanges. I think he's going to use a lot of top control with his wrestling, because I think what we haven't seen with Josiah Harrell is really him off his back too much. We haven't seen how much he's been tested and how he can scramble off his back and get back to the feet, especially against a guy that's as strong as Jacobe Smith and has that much momentum on his side. I do think that Jacobe will obviously win, but I think it's going to be a very competitive fight, even though Josiah is on short notice. He's just that much of a prospect, and, you know, with all the adversity he's come through with the surgery and everything, credit to the guy. Like, I hope he goes out there and has a great performance. But Jacobe Smith, yeah, I think it's going to be his fight, but it's going to be a close one. I got it 29-28. I think Jacobe wins the first 2 rounds. I think Josiah pulls through in the third, landing some better shots. Jacobe slows down, but I think it's going to be too little too late. And yeah, that's where still it's going to be a lot of high output. There's going to be, there's a huge stakes on the line. Both of them are undefeated at 11-0. Yeah, it's going to be a fight of the night for sure. Moving up the card, we got Serghei Spivac versus Ante Delija. Now, this was, unfortunately for me, moved from UFC 325. They just had to reschedule. I'm not entirely sure why. I think they just moved it, to be honest. But I think it is a completely fair fight to make. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, both of them are mid-range in the rankings. Both of them are literally coming off losses to Waldo Cortez Acosta in their last fights. And we look at Serghei Spivac, guys in his prime age range. He's improving with his striking. He's actually able to stand with Waldo Cortez Acosta pretty effectively. But I will say, like, he's fought better opposition overall than Delija across his career in the UFC, being here for so long. But, you know, he is just a step behind those other guys, and that really comes down to his striking pedigree and, most importantly, his strike speed. Because on the ground with his judo and everything, one of the elite in the division easily, but he does struggle with the strike speed and the clear boxing against very heavy, powerful opposition. And that is the issue with Ante Delija. On the other side, Delija is that guy that does have those heavy hands. He's a guy that loves to back up his opponent. And even though Ante got knocked out by Waldo Cortez Acosta in his last fight so comically, the guy's 35 years old. He's on his final run. He really wants to make a real good break for that heavyweight title. We know he's hungry. He's kill or be killed. And when it comes to that really good boxing pedigree he does have, which is better than Spivac's, I think that that's going to be the biggest contrast in this fight for Ante Delija to win. Now, $1.59 to $2.45, I actually do think this should be closer, because even though Ante Delija is 7-0 with submissions, we haven't seen it so crystal clearly against top opposition, especially of like Spivac's level. So I think Spivac is a guy that is going to be able to win more so in that ground-based exchange, but I just think Delija is not going to step off the gas. I think he's going to pressure Spivac too much, and I just think Spivac's ability on the back foot is a little bit too concerning for me to be confident in him to win this fight, and that's where I think Ante Delija is going to be able to back Spivac up. I think it's going to be around the middle of the second round, pretty much halfway through the fight. He's going to back him up against the cage, land a lot of volume, clips to the body, nice lead lefts straight to the liver, and then I think he's just going to clock him against the cage, drop him down, ground and pound, TKO finish for Ante Delija to get back on the winning track. Moving up the card, we got Dan Ige versus Melquizael Costa. This is a sick fight. Would have been happy to have this as the co-main event. I mean, definitely deserved. Both of these guys, as we know, are super entertaining. I mean, especially we know Dan Ige. He's a guy that's been in the UFC for such a long time. He's a guy that is pretty much a glorified gatekeeper, but he is someone that is always entertaining, is always game. We know he took the fucking Diego Lopez fight on like fucking, what was it, 40 minutes notice, like max 2 hours or some shit. Like, he is a gamer. He is a G, and he's very difficult to finish. Obviously, when it comes to control-based fights and when it comes to accumulation of striking, he does fall behind, and that's where he's gone 7-10 when it comes to decisions, but he is an immovable object, and that's why this fight is so damn entertaining, because Melquizael Costa, even though he has got 9 decisions to his name, the guy is a finisher, a very dangerous, well-rounded finisher. We saw what he did against Morgan Charrier in his last fight, which was not that long ago. Melquizael Costa is damn active, one of the best fighters of 2025, and moving into 2026, he's just showing how game he is. And I mean, head kick KO flat against Morgan Charrier, who was 12-0. Like, the guy had never been finished before. I was absolutely shocked. My jaw dropped to my feet. And seeing him be able to perform like that, it really begs the question, can Melquizael Costa take out Dan Ige if he can take out a guy that's 12-0 on the feet? And I mean, there's a lot of questions and a lot to go through to get around that to see if we actually have the answer. But we got to look at Melky for starters. I mean, 5-fight win streak, really rounding out that game, and like, he's a guy that transitionally on the ground, I think, can effectively run around Ige pretty well. Ige is going to be stronger than Melky for sure, but Melquizael Costa, when it comes to his actual transitional capability, he's going to be one step ahead of Dan Ige. Now, can Melky knock Dan Ige out? There's always a bloody chance, but I more so don't think so. I mean, Dan Ige, firstly, is always game. Super tough. Like, he took out Sean Woodson, who was on a fantastic win streak and is a better striker than Melky as well. But he has fallen short against the top competition, like, you know, Diego Lopez, like Lerone Murphy, like Patricio Pitbull as well. But I don't think Melquizael Costa is on their level, but he is growing, and he's growing fast because the grappling is damn legit. He's really rounding out that striking, and that transitional dominance is going to be the key here against Dan Ige, to be honest. And that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if Ige does take him out on the feet, and $2.70 underdog is nice. It is nice. It was really fucking tempted me, boys. It really tempted me for the $2.70, but I got to go Melquizael Costa by a decision. I just think the grappling contrast overall, especially with Melky being able to show that he can really push the pace for 3 rounds. I mean, ever since he lost to Steve Garcia, this guy has just turned on. Like, he's improving his strike accuracy fantastically well. He's showing good ranges of combinations as well. Like, he's got really good control time on his side. And I think that Melky is going to be able to really out-control Ige through the first 2 rounds. And then I think Dan Ige is probably going to take the 3rd. And I think Dan Ige might be close to knocking Melky out in that 3rd round. Just really picturing it right now. Especially for those that take Ige as almost a 3-1 fucking dog, fair enough. But Melky, I think he's got that hunger, man. He's got that momentum on his side, and I think he is one of these guys that can break through one of the glorified gatekeepers in Dan Ige. I think he can get this done. Now, it's really a question. If Melquizael Costa goes out there and submits Dan Ige, give that guy a fucking top 10 shot immediately, because that is just unheard. If Lopez isn't doing it and Melky is, Melky's a super dangerous fight for a guy like Diego Lopez then. I'd love that fight. Melky versus Diego would be sick. But that really just shows that, you know, Melky's another one of these really fun up-and-coming prospects that could really do some damage in the top 15, and he needs to get through Dan Ige to do it. But I think he can. He just needs to make sure he's not getting knocked the fuck out. Moving up the card, we got Geoff Neal versus Uros Medic. Now, this fight was definitely not on my bingo card for 2026, that's for sure. Now, in terms of being deserved, I don't think Uros Medic is necessarily deserved of it. I like him as a fighter, for sure. He's very entertaining. But it doesn't make a whole lot of sense in terms of ranking-wise and actually ethically deserving it. Stylistically, matchmaking perspective makes a lot of sense. Like, Uros Medic is a great finisher, very prevalent. He's kill or be killed, never been to a decision in his life. Geoff Neal is always game. He will fight fucking Thanos if he has to. He is just a G. He will fight absolutely everyone. And I gotta say, Geoff Neal, going through the interviews that he's been through and watching some of his footage and stuff, I think he is really dialed in. Like, I don't think he's sleeping on Uros Medic at all just because he's a guy that's outside the rankings. I think that actually makes him more hungry because he's like, if I lose this, I'm probably out of the rankings. So I really want to make sure that I'm able to keep this position because I know I'm still in the game. And granted, he's lost 3 of his last 5, but he's lost to absolute beasts in the game. Like Prates, he's lost to Ian Gary. Like, the guy's a weapon. Like, he seriously is. And he makes almost all of them competitive except for Prates. But Prates that guy's just fucked. Like, that guy is an absolute savage. But looking at this matchup, we know it's going to predominantly just take place on the feet. That's why it is the co-main. Stylistically, it's just going to be entertaining boxing. Both of them are prevalent finishers. Both have 10 KOs to their name. And I do like Uros being in his prime here. He's won 3 of his last 5. He had a really good comeback after being submitted by Miktabek Oralby. And granted, dangerous boxer. He has a lot of power, has really nice uppercuts. We saw him use that against Tim Means. But I gotta say, if he can get in close and hurt Neal and drop him, like, we don't know if Neal's chin is still the same after bloody Prates spinning elbowed his fucking temple off. But if Geoff Neal isn't the same, Uros Medic has a huge chance here to just take him out, all skill aside. But when it comes to actual experience and skill, the contrast is just too evident here for me to take Uros Medic. I have to take Geoff Neal, and I think it's going to come towards the end of the first round. Like, these guys are going to be really just banging it, and they're both durable to an extent, but it just takes a super clean combination from one of them, and it's going to happen, and one of them is getting slept. Like, I think this is the most susceptible fight to having the finish, because both of them just really know nothing else but crystal clear boxing. And yeah, with those 4-ounce gloves and the power that both of these guys have, one of them's getting slept, but Geoff Neal, when it comes to his experience overall, the contrast is obviously ridiculous. And without a severe takedown threat from Uros Medic, I think Geoff Neal is just going to really show his experience in that top 15 for so long, and I think it's going to be a pretty fucking rude awakening for Uros Medic here. Now, moving up to the main event, we have got the pure, raw American Steel and Twisted Sex Appeal. Sean Strickland demonetizing everything versus Fluffy Hernandez, who is just absolutely fucking surging right now, lad. That guy is disgusting. He is so good. But I do think, even though he is so good, I think that he will be made human in this fight to an extent, because Sean Strickland is a tricky matchup. I've seen a lot of guys really talk about how Sean Strickland is the kryptonite for Fluffy, because Sean Strickland can match the cardio. He does have clean body shots. He's a guy that can stifle the tempo of Hernandez. And do I think he can do that? I think to an extent, to the point where Strickland can do it for 1 round. That's probably it. Because Anthony Hernandez, granted, it's probably the hardest matchup for him stylistically outside of Khamzat Chimaev. Like, I just can't go against Fluffy. The guy is just so ridiculously aggressive, and the grappling advantage he has here over Sean Strickland, is evident when it comes to actual real fight experience. Like, yes, we've seen Sean Strickland wrestle in training and do all this shit in training, and we've seen him here and there against DDP with the wrestling. The dude's gonna have to wrestle his fucking ass off in this fight, and Anthony Hernandez is going to capitalize hard. I mean, this is the hardest matchup for Fluffy. As I said, it isn't going to be crystal clear, and I think Strickland, especially through that first round, can make him look damn human. And Strickland, we know the guy has good, solid fundamentals. He's defensively all around is good. He's hard to submit. He's very hard to clip clean as well because of his Philly shell. But as boring as his fight style is, I think Fluffy is just going to make him work so hard. And like, Strickland is good at slowing the tempo of fights. And I think if we're really going to look at Sean Strickland like proper winning here, if you really want my take on him winning, there's two things he can do to allow himself to do so. He keeps his hips back to allow for the best takedown defense opportunity he can have, while also making sure that he can keep Fluffy at range, because we know he has a lightning fast jab. I know everyone talks shit about the jab, but his jab's really fucking good. And he has, most of all, if we look at that Izzy fight that he had at UFC 293, I mean, he's got really, really nice teep kicks. He can just drill those teep kicks. And Anthony Hernandez, the guy has like no holes in this game except for one absolutely massive one, and it's his body. His body is his kryptonite. He just has a really soft solar plexus. Like, he can't take damage in that body. We saw what happened with Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland destroyed his body. We saw what happened with Michel Pereira in that first round. He hurt Fluffy Hernandez there too. But aside from that, he's got no holes. And I can't rely on a Sean Strickland who also doesn't have a long enough reach advantage here. He's not like a Michael Morales versus Sean Brady, where he has like an 8-inch reach advantage, can just set his hips back and not allow Brady to take those hips. Sean Strickland doesn't have that big a size advantage to clearly allow that to happen for 5 rounds. Fluffy is going to get him down, and if Fluffy gets Strickland down, Fluffy is winning the exchanges on the ground, plain and simply. That's just how it is going to be, and I think that's where he's just going to absolutely smother him. Sean Strickland needs to really get aggressive in that first round, but also simultaneously keeping his hips back. He needs to make sure that he can just drill that body, keep his hips back, like at least even land some clean hooks to the body, just wear Hernandez down. He has to do that. If he can do that to his body, then he can win. But aside from that, yeah, Fluffy is just transitionally so much better. He's proven it in actual fight sequences. Strickland overall doesn't have the answers for that ground game pedigree. And Fluffy Hernandez is going to take round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5. And I mean, if Drickus is able to take Strickland down, Hernandez definitely will be able to take him down. So Fluffy Hernandez, 49-46. Strickland takes round 1, gets some decent striking off with his hips back, gets a nice clean jab. Anthony Hernandez has to get used to that speed and tempo of Strickland. And then rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5, Hernandez goes signature, proves why he's on that 8-fight win streak, and beats Sean Strickland, and then to give him a damn title shot. After Imavov and Chimaev, give Fluffy Hernandez a damn title shot, because when Khamzat gets through Nasruddin Imavov, Fluffy Hernandez versus Khamzat Chimaev is the fucking fight to make at middleweight. Trust me, bro. Now, I really hope you enjoyed this predictions and breakdown video, and please let me know your predictions down below. And if you have any video ideas or anything you guys want to see for the channel, definitely leave a comment down below so I can look into those. And please like, comment, subscribe. It goes a long way for the channel. And if you haven't already, definitely check out the video here just on the screen for more MMA-based content. And I will catch you in the next one.